Hello, 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 yet again, fantastic viewers. We are live back again, once again, with the Game Developers of Color Expo 2020. I am the Purple Sharpie, but you can call me Sharpie if you're feeling especially sassy. And today we are going over a fantastic game called Garden Story. I have one of the amazing people at the publishing group Rose City Games, Jenny, here to discuss the game with me. Absolute pleasure to have you today, Jenny.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing today, Sharpie?
I'm great. Thank you so much for asking. Oh my gosh. But you know what? Let's not focus on me. Let's focus on Garden Story. Tell me a little bit more about this game.
Yeah, so Garden Story is a game about a grape named Concord who has taken on a new role of guardian within their community. And so they will traverse this island that has once been really, really lush, but now has been a bit dilapidated and seen a little bit of trouble to inspire its inhabitants to not only unite back together, but to work together to rebuild their home. So you'll be able to make friends, you'll be able to do a little bit of building and exploration and figure out what this mysterious rot is doing that is causing this decimation.
That's awesome. I believe we also have a trailer here. Why don't we go ahead and take a look at it and find out some more about this amazing sounding game?
Yeah.
No words. Oh my gosh, that was almost too cute for words. I loved it so much. That was insane.
Yeah.
Okay, I have so many questions for you, Jenny, but let's start with this one. I'm seeing so many beautiful, beautiful themes and aesthetic choices inside of this game. Talk to me a little bit more about where that art style actually comes from.
Yeah, so this game, I'm from Rose City Games again, and that's the publisher. And we're really lucky to be representing Garden Story, which is by Picogram. They are a solo dev based in Portland, Oregon. We met them through Pig Squad, which is the Portland indie game squad. And that was our opportunity to see Garden Story sort of in its beginning stages. And from there, we realized we really wanted to share this game with other folks. The game itself, I mean, I love it so much, and what has really allowed me to gravitate toward it, especially as the communications and community manager of the studio, is it's all about community. It's about helping people who, or I guess fruits and vegetables, helping the beings around you in your local community versus feeling like you have to go somewhere else to be heroic or to be a hero. And so I think this is a really cool game that allows not only for you to be in a cozy, really cute, like you said, kind of impossibly cute world, but it allows you to explore these themes that I think are really important, especially right now in today's day and age.
You know, I want to touch a little bit more on that idea of a standard protagonist, hero, character, especially inside of games. We do typically see, you know, the standard like macho model of like what a character is supposed to be inside of a game, especially the character that the player usually controls. But inside of here, I'm just seeing a lot of power being given to the player about where they can go and how they want to go, and just so much freedom to do essentially what you feel comfortable with. Does that kind of tie in very well with the theme as you feel?
Yeah, I think you bring up two really great points. And the first one is like this idea of sort of like macho characters being the hero. And I think there's a really interesting juxtaposition that we see in Garden Story where the protagonist, the one character that you play, is literally one of the squishiest, smallest fruit that you can think of. They're just a grape. But at the same time, as you were also saying, into your second point, there's a lot of power in choosing to ask folks if they need help. There's a lot of power in seeing what you can do and just taking that small action to try and make your community better. And with those small actions, they can really add up. And I think that's something that this game does really, really beautifully. We'll probably talk about it a little bit more, but I think one of the really exciting things is that every day, as in many type of games in this sort of genre, you wake up and there's all these tasks that you can do. And eventually you can grow to be able to not only work on these tasks on your own, but ask others for help as you're helping even more folks. So it's just, yeah, it's a really feel good game.
I want to touch a little bit more on that idea, essentially, of
Mhm.
community assistance inside of this game, because that's
Yeah.
something we see a lot inside of games that are similar to this. I almost want to call them exploration and just kind of like simulation esque
Hmm.
games. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
really like that idea of the community coming together around or a person or a creature
Mhm.
assisting other parts of their community to help and build. And that's kind of like what we're seeing inside of this game footage here. Is
Yeah.
it looks as though the small little grape is just going around trying to help other folks inside of the community by cleaning up and just delivering items. Can you tell us a little bit more about how the grape is able to help, and maybe share a little bit in depth about something that could come from all the positive help that we see the grape putting into the community?
Yeah. So what's really, really neat is that, as I mentioned before, every morning you wake up and you see requests on a board. And as you saw earlier in the gameplay footage here, the requests could range from helping perhaps mend something in the village that's broken. It could be perhaps clearing out an area that's been overrun with some of the rot, the invasive sort of species that's been getting closer and closer to where folks have been inhabiting and causing a little bit of damage and a little bit of danger in this world. Or it could be any number of other things specialized to the different locations that you explore in the game. And what I think is really neat is that as you do these sort of requests and favors throughout the villages and throughout the game, not only does Concord the Grape gain experience in that traditional game way where you'll level up in a sense and you'll gain memories that allow you to upgrade yourself, but you also will be able to gain the trust and acceptance of your neighbors. So
Mm.
what's really interesting, and we haven't touched on a lot, I think, when we talk about the game, is that when Concord begins, quite a few of the other inhabitants of the Grove look upon them with a little bit of skepticism because, they
Mm.
say, "You're just a small grape. Like, what do you think you can do? You don't have our trust yet."
Mm.
And I think that's something that's really interesting to play with and to like experience in the game and see that Concord earns the trust and will work to
Mm.
earn the trust. And or you don't have to actually in the game. In the game, you don't have to do every single request, but I think that's another important component where is if you choose to do these tasks, you can help improve the world that you're a part of. But there are times when maybe you aren't able to or can't do these tasks or don't choose to do these tasks. And that will also impact the world sort of conversely in a very different sort of way. But eventually, hopefully, you'll be able to make the decision to make the world a better place. And it'll get easier because the more trust you earn, the more you'll be able to enlist the help of fellow villagers
I
to,
apologize for interrupting you here,
oh,
Jenny.
yeah.
I am so sorry. I'm seeing here inside the private chat, we're actually gonna have to temporarily stop the recording and just I'm gonna ask you
Oh,
to start
okay.
that part over. I think there was just a
Sure.
technical issue. So I'm gonna lead you back into
Mhm.
that. I understand that you're talking a little bit more about the community aspect, and
Yeah.
it sounds like you want to cover more about how the player can help or choose not to help the community. Would you like me to lead
Mhm.
into that question for you?
Sure. That sounds good.
Okay, okay. So, Jenny, I'm seeing a lot of what it appears. Concord, is that the name of the grape? Is that
Mhm.
correct?
Yes,
Okay,
that's correct.
it seems as though Concord is working really, really hard to try to change the way that the community functions and even
Mhm.
just looks. Can you tell us a little bit more about how the player is able to influence that dynamic between Concord and the community?
Yeah. So what's really interesting is that this is the position of guardian of this area is something that Concord is sort of new to. And so a lot of the members of the community of the Grove, they don't necessarily think Concord has what it takes. They think, this is just a small grape. What can they do to really help us? These problems are so much bigger than what one grape can handle. And so throughout the game, as you do these favors and requests, you're going to be trying to not only help make the world better physically by doing these tangible activities, but also you'll be earning the trust of the neighbors in your community. And what's really neat is that as you do that, as you complete tasks, you'll be able to see that through the neighbors and community members being willing to help you out and lighten the load in many ways. But conversely, if you choose, because it's a game and you can choose not to do certain requests and certain tasks, you will see that effect to some extent. It's not a relationship system per se, but you will see that effect throughout the community, and you'll see that effect in the game.
Oh, I absolutely love that. And honestly, it just sounds like such a great reflection of, more of the specifics of being human. You get to choose essentially how you choose for Concord to go through their day. And of course, there are rewards and of course deficits to it, it sounds like, which is really sounds like it makes an incredibly interactive universe for the player to go through. I am a big that. I'm a huge fan. I want to go ahead and switch gears just a smidge here because it's my understanding that this game was actually featured in the Indie World Showcase 2020 earlier last month that Nintendo had. So, is this coming out for Switch? Is that what I'm understanding?
That was our big exciting news last month. Yeah, we've been sitting on this for a while, so it's been really exciting to finally be able to like shout it from the rooftops and tell everyone that yes, Garden Story, a lot of the inspiration for the game comes from classic titles from Nintendo. I think like Zelda being one of the mechanical inspirations, among many other games. And so I think the pixel art and everything makes it so well suited to the Switch. The themes are so well suited to just like that Nintendo feel. And yeah, it's really exciting to be able to say that we are officially coming to Nintendo Switch. And it was wild being in the Nintendo Direct. I think all of us were really, really happy to see that happen.
Congratulations again. That's a huge milestone for any game to go through, especially a game where the developer is a singular person, where the publisher I'm not saying you guys are small or anything, but such a hands-on approach by the publisher is next to unheard of inside of the gaming world. I'm sure you're familiar with that. That's amazing. What I'd really like to hear from you is a little bit more about how you feel Garden Story actually is able to compare to so many other games that exist on the Switch. Stardew Valley is a huge game right now on the Switch. How is Garden Story able to stand out? What makes Garden Story special?
Oh gosh, where do I start? I truly, I've mentioned this earlier, but it really is such an honor for me to be able to represent Picogram and this game because I remember seeing this on Twitter ages ago, which I think it was actually maybe only 2 years ago when I started seeing it on Twitter. And I mean, the art style, first of all, is totally so enrapturing and eye-catching. I think one of Pico's strengths, they are the sole developer, and Graham Nesbitt, who is the composer and sound design, is also working on the game. But Pico does all of the artwork, and I think the level of attention to detail is just simply astounding. Like when you walk on the grass, it'll squish. The UI is so cute because it's your backpack and you can see like which items you have equipped. And I think that level of attention to detail is something that anyone who is a fan of games like Stardew Valley or Animal Crossing or Zelda, they will pick up on that care and attention. Because I think especially games like Zelda and like Stardew Valley, Harvest Moon, they all have those cozy details that really make you feel like this is a world that's lived in. This is a world where it's not just sort of this random space that characters are plopped in, but there are experiences here to be had. I think this game is also truly special because it is addressing themes of community and heroism and what it means to be a part of a community nowadays, and doing so in a way that doesn't feel, I mean, these are heavier topics, these are bigger themes, but it doesn't feel heavy-handed because of like the whimsy that surrounds the world. And I think that makes it really accessible for not only older players who are familiar with games and who I think will feel very like strong senses of nostalgia when they jump in, but I think it's really accessible to younger players, which is something that as a studio, we all I think have at least once mentioned this goal of being able to have a game that encourages this next generation of players to come up and also be really excited about what can be done with the medium. I think this game does a really great job of that.
I really feel the level of care that you're talking about coming
Mhm.
here from Picogram.
Yeah.
They did a fantastic job of adding all of these extra little flavors.
Mhm.
Even just watching the different areas swap in very slowly, and the slight amount of fade that we see in the iteration time.
Mhm.
Watching just the small amounts of bounce as the menus slide and everything like that. All of those extra
Yeah.
features, they are, they're doing it for me as a player.
Mhm.
I
It's
love it.
true, and it's so fun because in the latest sort of content that we revealed in the Nintendo Direct, and I think it's going to show in maybe the GDC Direct that's happened earlier this week.
Oh,
But we revealed a lot of new areas like the summer bar, or one summer area in particular, the summer bar, and the details in that area is so great because when you step in the sand or when you like hit an umbrella, it expands and collapses, and there's just this interactivity in the world that feels just so good. So
so
yeah.
I want to actually touch a little bit more on that. And if you
Hmm.
if you if you can, it's amazing. If you're not necessarily able to share too much, I completely and totally
Of
understand.
course.
Am I understanding you correctly when you say that there are specific holiday and timed events inside of this game based on the seasons? Is that correct?
So the areas in this world are all based off of seasons. And
Mm.
so we revealed one of the first areas we revealed was Autumn Town, which was from the demo. There's a spring area and a summer area. We haven't shown really any footage of what everyone has already guessed is the fourth area, which is the winter area. So while there aren't seasons like, say, in a Harvest Moon or Stardew Valley where time progresses in that sense,
Mhm.
particularly, there are day and night cycles, and you will get tastes of different seasons depending on where you're exploring in this world.
That's such an interesting take on the mechanic.
Yeah,
I'm very, very interested in that, and I'm so
yeah.
excited to see what Picogram managed to do with that in terms of the development inside of the game. That is
Hmm.
absolutely astounding. I'd like to go
Yeah.
ahead and move a little bit more towards the visibility side of this game. I want to touch on something
Hmm.
that you stated earlier. You stated that you actually saw this game on Twitter. Can you tell me a little
Did.
bit more about how it made it like stand out to you? Because I'm gonna be honest, I'm an avid Twitter user. I tweet all the time. Hashtag addicted, but somehow managed to never see this game. Talk to me more about how this game managed to set itself out to you and like why you
Yeah.
managed to choose to take so much time and care with it.
Yeah, so what's really awesome, Picogram, before we started working with them, what's really great is also we're all in the Portland area. So we all kind
Mm.
of knew each other through, again, the indie game squad.
Mhm.
And Picogram first started developing Garden Story in like spring of 2018. And so they had brought little bits of like early visuals to Pig Squad events. And I personally saw their work on Twitter just because I was associated with them on Twitter from it. But Picogram already has a couple of small game jam games out that you can
Mm.
find. One is called PE Noir,
Mm.
and the other is called Goodbye Doggy, and they're both really small bite-sized games that you could play in probably one sitting, half hour, 1 hour.
Mm.
And I'd highly encourage you to try them out if you would like, and if you have the time and you like their pixel art style. But we also already knew about their games through game jam titles like that. And so I think being just in a community, which is perfect because, again, this game is so much about community. We were just in a similar community and saw this fellow developer that we really appreciated their work. And so we wanted to find a way to help them out. So I think that's kind of the origin story of how we started teaming up with Picogram.
That's amazing. I'm
Yeah.
looking at the Steam page right now and I'm actually seeing that it looks like there's a demo available. Is that correct as well?
There is. So if anyone is interested, they can go onto Steam right now and play a small sample of Garden Story. This demo is a standalone, so it is really unique in that it's not like starting from the beginning of the game goes through the first 30 minutes. This is actually a demo that we specially created to feature different sections and subsections of the mechanics that you'll see in the full game. So while this is
Wow.
an area that players will eventually encounter in the game, it's not how the game begins, so you don't have to worry about necessarily spoiling anything. And I can tell you right now, we're actually, as we're doing beta testing, like this area looks totally different, in terms of the level of detail that Picogram has continued to infuse throughout the process. So yeah, it's really also exciting for me to see this footage and see how far the game has come in just the few months since we've released the demo.
Let me just first of all give both you, Rose City Games, the publisher, and Picogram, the developer, amazing props on being able to release a demo free and accessible on Steam, because that's not something that a lot of publishers very specifically choose to do. And I know that it's
Mhm.
very difficult for developers to create demos that are immersive for players, but this looks beautiful. This looks
Yeah.
amazing. This looks incredibly fun. I kind of want to stop interviewing you and just play the game right now.
I mean, yeah.
But talk to me a little bit more about how I understand that Picogram has been working on this. It sounds like for the past 2 years. I'm sorry,
Mhm.
Picogram has been working on this for the past 2 years now, and they've been working on the development since 2018, as you stated earlier.
Mhm.
Were there any challenges that you noticed from your side of things that may
Yeah.
have slowed things down?
Yeah, I think the hardest thing in indie dev is oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes a lot of developers are working either with very small teams, or in Picogram's case, they are working primarily solo. And so I think this is Picogram's first like commercial, full developed title. And so there is, of course, a learning curve in terms of where do you set priorities? How do you manage your time? Even like you were just saying with the demo, how do you prioritize making sure the demo is really clean and great, but also make sure you're not losing too much time on the actual game when you're also preparing a demo that's going to be kind of a standalone on its own. So I think there was a lot of work in terms of figuring out how to help from our publisher side, how to guide Pico so that they can like figure out the systems and methods that are best for them in terms of prioritizing their time, working with their time, and just kind of making sure they feel really good about how development is going. And I think, I mean, that's not no secret. There's also been the extra wrench of COVID and the pandemic and everything else being thrown in on top of that. Before the pandemic and we all started working from home, we all worked in the same office, so it was highly collaborative between the publisher and the developer side, because
Mm.
Picogram literally sat behind me, and if we needed to, I could just turn around and ask them a question and
Yeah.
kind of check in. And so I think the other major challenge is, fortunately, we had a lot of time together before having to transition to working from home, so that we had these systems. And fortunately, we're all online together, and we have a
Mhm.
Discord that we share. And so it's been able to work it out. But there's definitely been a learning curve this year.
It's really amazing that you mentioned that, because a lot of game developers aren't able to have that incredible close-knit connection with their publisher, though. So that's
Mhm.
astounding that
Yeah.
you all were all able to be that close, be that amazing, be that transparent with one another, and just really
Mhm.
establish a bond that resulted in this absolute beautiful masterpiece of a game here. I'm still absolutely blown away that this isn't, some huge triple title provided by Nintendo like game. It's literally blowing me away. I
Oh, thank
love
you.
it. I love it so much.
Yeah,
Uh,
definitely sharing these words with everyone on the team.
oh
They're
yeah, yeah,
not
yeah.
already watching right now.
Yeah, yeah, it's copywritten. It's copywritten. Sharpie,
Yeah.
Sharpie trademarked. Yes. All right. So let's go ahead and move the scene just a smidge here, and let's go ahead and actually focus on one of the things that I want to kind of talk about, and that's the fact
Mhm,
that I see here you have full controller support. Now, this is
mhm.
important because this is something that even Stardew Valley didn't originally have on release for quite a long time. I'd love to talk more about why that feature was important and how accessibility really came into focus here in this game.
Yeah, so I mean, again, as a smaller team, we have limitations in terms of everything that we're able to do in terms of what we would love to provide for all accessibility versus like what feasibly can happen. I think our goal is basically in anything that we do, we're going to try to just do our best. And so that's why having that full controller support was important. We got a lot of feedback when we had the demo initially as well, because initially we were primarily keyboard mouse,
Mhm.
that for a variety of reasons, we got a lot of feedback on that. And so now with the game, we have controller support. You can rebind the keys as
Mm,
convenient on keyboard and mouse, or sorry, just keyboard. Actually, I don't believe we have mouse
mm,
use. And yeah, and I think we're doing our best. We talked about this a little bit briefly
yeah.
beforehand, but being able to translate Garden Story into other languages, we are working towards that. And while we don't have specifics yet, that is something that we want to be able to do. So yeah, within our capabilities, we're trying to just keep in mind accessibility in the game, not just in terms of content or mechanics, with how cozy and we get, we're in the wholesome direct. So that's obviously a goal of ours, is to be accessible with content, but also in terms of accessible to be able to access the content. We're going to just try to do our best with that.
That's amazing. I absolutely love to see game developers and publishers alike note that when accessibility is important, when they're managing to put what limited time and resources they have into making sure that accessibility is provided. That's always astounding. Absolutely love to see
Mhm.
it. I want to kind of change pace yet again, and I want to focus a little bit more on the community aspect now
Mhm.
because, like we stated before, I understand you guys had the demo. You guys got a lot of feedback about that specifically from the community regarding
Mhm.
keyboard and mouse and everything. That I'm also seeing on your Steam page that you all have live streams. You guys have fan art contests. Talk to me about the
Yeah.
community involvement here. I'd love to hear more about it.
Yeah, I've really just loved the community that has started growing around Garden Story, that has been around Garden Story. I mean, Picogram already had such a great following around them in terms of the artwork and game dev that they do, and so a lot of those folks came in already, and were just super excited about Garden Story as a whole, which was really fun for me as the community person for Rose City Games. And ultimately, the goal with community right now is just allowing people to celebrate their excitement. We just had some really great news about the Nintendo Switch. And so, as you pointed out, we're having a fan art contest. What's really great is that a lot of folks in our community are super artistic, and a lot of them are involved in pixel art and game dev in some capacity, a lot of times as hobbyists, sometimes as sort of aspiring more professional game devs. And so it's been really neat to also foster creativity in that way within the community. So it's been really
That
fun.
is
Yeah.
amazing. Oh my gosh. I'm just generally so excited for this game. And I'm so generally honored to be able to speak with you today, Jenny. Thank you
Thank
so much
you.
for coming here and showing us more
Yeah.
about the game. Can you tell us a little bit more about where we can find more information and when we can expect to finally see it?
So we can finally expect to see Garden Story in 2021. There is no official date, but if folks want to keep in touch with us to be able to find out when that is announced, they can find us on social media. Twitter is the place where we are most active, and that's at Garden Story Game. And you can also find us on Instagram at Garden Story Game. It's pretty nice. Same on both platforms. We also have a Discord, discord.gg/Rose City Games. That's where all of the games that we have worked on are housed. And right now it's very Garden Story centric. And if anyone wants to support the title, really the best thing you can do is wishlist. We are available to wishlist on Steam, and I didn't know this before, but there are wish lists on the Nintendo Switch. So if you go to the Nintendo store, I think via browser, I haven't tried it actually on my Switch, I just did it online, but there's probably a way on the browser or on the Switch too. You can also add us to your wish list on the Nintendo Switch. And I think from all the other indie devs, you may have heard this, whether in this event or others, but it really does help to just kind of bolster and play the algorithm things that we have to do sometimes.
Yeah,
So
showing
yeah.
support for the game,
Mhm.
especially by wish listing it, does show the demand, and that is huge for indie games and indie
Mhm.
developers out here. Just make sure that we're supporting them. They're so amazing. Jenny, thank you again for spending
Yeah.
time with us today and showcasing a fantastic developer and a fantastic game. Gabe, just great to speak to you.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you to Game Devs of Color Expo for having all of this happen. It's really, really great to be able to look forward to this.
Well, everybody, that's going to do it for this interview. Thank you so much for watching. Please stay tuned as we have even more fantastic independently made games and even more fantastic game developers to interview. I am Sharpie. This is the Game Developers of Color Expo 2020, and I hope that you don't change that dial because we will be right back.